Hey guys, Steven here, and I'm here to talk about my Nats deck list, where I play for the Nats, as well as the points playoff. They are slightly different. The main decks are the same, but the side decks do change slightly. I took a bit of a break after Nats, and by break I mean just grinding Master Duel. But I am going to put out a little bit more content, ideally, out going into the beginning of next season. I am skipping YCS Sacramento, just a heads up. I just need a break because I have too much, frustrations or anything. It's just a matter of I've been going to every single YCS in North America, plus some since COVID ended, and I'm good to take a break and do some other things for the summer. And then I will be back for YCS Niagara next, which is nice and close for me. But back to nationals, I decided to play Tenpai. So for a few reasons, I decided to play this deck. One was that I didn't really have any comfort pick going into Nats. The decks I've been playing, mainly Salad, which was the kind of deck I was spamming a lot near the end of the season, end of lead format. Didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel like I wanted to play Hand Trap Wars, and I really wanted to avoid Hand Trap Wars in general. Even though I think it was a completely viable way of doing it. I'm trying do that all season. But I think it was even more important in points playoff to avoid hand trap wars because there was whisperings that fair few people were going to bring Lab or Runic Stun, and the issue is when you're playing hand trap wars, you main so many hand traps that are just awful in those matchups, as well as you then have to side more hand traps. And so if you sit down against one of these decks and lose the die roll, you are really not in a good position because you will not have enough tech cards to reliably see and fight back against these decks. Where with Tenpai, I felt I didn't have this issue because I could just main as much hate as I wanted to for Snake Eye and Yubel and all these breakers. I wouldn't need to side anything for Snake Eye, and I could just bill all the side deck for Lab and Runic Stun. And I ended up playing Lab the first round of playoff, and I think I played that match pretty bad, but the deck list just carried. So if you look at my side deck, this is the points playoff side deck. I'll talk about the side deck first because this is really the discussing part about it. As you can see in the main deck, it is all breakers. We have the Cosmics and Duster for the back row decks, but my side deck is literally 14 or 13 if you are playing against Runic Stun cards for back row decks, where if you draw any of them or any two of them, you're basically winning that game. Ashes, and then you have even spicy stuff like MSTs at the top of the Cosmics, so much targeted removal, Lightning Storms, as well as anti-magic arrows and Dankos. Like if you draw either of these cards with Sang and Kaiman, the game just is over. For those who don't know what anti-magic arrows does, when you go to start battle phase, you activate this, and it's basically Cold Wave. And your player can activate spell or traps for the remainder of the turn, and they can't respond to it either. So if they have a judgment, it doesn't work. So if you go battle phase, activate Kaiman, activate anti-magic arrows, they just die. And so I think you can very easily see that post game one, I have so much back row hate that I felt very comfortable going into those decks. And I played, like I said, I played it first round of playoffs, and the deck definitely needed to do what it did. And I drew Denko in a completely unwinnable position, and then I slammed down Denko, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm back in this game. And then as for Snake Eye, I think that the breaker approach was very good. I think that the breaker approach is worse in a diverse format because you don't really know if your breakers are going to trade well. Like if you sit down versus Ritual Beast or Voiceless or some Brand, some of these other kind of weird decks, these cards are not going to be good. But against Snake Eye, just throwing breaker after breaker against them is super effective. A lot of people say you can't play breakers versus Snake Eye, doesn't do enough. They have the Desiree negate, they have everything floating, and that's true when you throw one breaker at them. If you're throwing two or three, they are by all means effective. Like if you're resolving double Regeki, they're not going to have any monsters on the board, and it's very easy to clean up. So this isn't anything too spicy in terms of most of the tech cards, but the big card I want to point out is Burning Draw. So what this card does is you can target a link monster your opponent controls, and then you draw cards equal to its link rating, and you can't special or normal other than fires for turn. So the restriction is completely irrelevant. But this card is kind of the big push. I think makes this deck viable. I think just having Regekis and Dark Holes as your only breakers, or as the only kind of power breakers, are not the best. You always want to have something to be able to lead, because a lot of your other cards like Cosmic, Droplets, and Thrust they're not your first action, they're not your power play. They're just there to either make sure the Kyle Blade goes through, or they're a follow-up to your power play. And so having 9 of these kind of power spells is super good. Cosmic and Droplets are super good because they both allow whatever your first breaker you throw at them is to resolve. You can Cosmic the link on the Desiree, you can drop as a Desiree, and a lot of times you're just going 1-2 punch and they're floating into nothing other than Princess Live or maybe an IP which you can then use another breaker to deal with, and then stand again, normal guy, and you kill them. So I think that the list was overall felt very good. Some other spicy things include, this is my main event list. The only things that changed, I took out a little bit of the background on how the MSTs and the Denkos in, put in some heat waves because I thought I'd be getting told to go first more, and crossouts for them. Actually still want to respect that a little bit more. And I also played the trap, I should point out. I don't think this is needed at all. What it does is if either player's in the main phase, you can activate this, and if you control a Dragonfire, you and your opponent has more monsters than you, you end the main phase. And so it's just a way of living. I don't think this is necessary. I think it's a side deck card at best. But the reason I decided to play it was because people would know what I was on. Very early on, I just want to have some extra way of having, insurance. If I get told to go first, I'm not just dying. Threatening Roar is the same thing, where you can thrust in Threatening Roar and live if you get hand trapped, which did actually happen once. And I think that this is kind of a fair backup. Was also in theory a way of living through Deep Barrier. You get Deep Barrier, you second Kaio, and then you pass back. You skip their main phase. You live another turn. You play, and that didn't end up even happen. The one game I tried to Sangen Kaiman, I got Fiend Smith pop because you didn't have more monsters, so it was unfortunate. But I think that as a known player, where people would know I'm on Tenpai, or in the points playoff, where I expect people to know what I'm on after round one, I think this card was very reasonable. The other thing to keep in mind, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you shouldn't play Tenpai for the playoffs because people are going to know what you're on after round one." And it's like, yes, that is true, but I would rather try to win 2 rivals instead of 3. Like, we've seen that going second in the Snake Eye Mirror is just unbearable. Even in the EU points playoff, you saw the guy play against Nets in the first round of the top 4. He opened double hand trap, and then it was Talons, Fiend Smith, Witch, Ash, and you couldn't crack the board. Like, it is so miserable going second in the mirror. And so I think that this deck's win rate going first is going to be quite low, but I don't think it's any worse than Snake Eye's win rate going second. And I'm very happy going and having to win 2 die rolls because I obviously win the first one because they're going first. It's always nicer to win 2 die rolls than 3, and so I don't think that was a big concern. I think that was kind of nice. I could avoid that. I wouldn't recommend playing this in the main if you're trying to list like this, unless you're kind of getting known for it. I don't think there's anything too spicy in the extra deck. It's kind of just standard stuff. I decided to play Shifter as well just because it is Shifter and it is help against some of the degenerate stuff. And so next question, I guess, is how do I do it, Nats, and what happened? So in the points playoff for round round one versus Labyrinth, I think I opened it actually fairly subpar. Game 2, game 1, he pulled ahead early. I can get there and have the main deck to beat it. And then game 2, I actually made a misplay where I added Talents off Thrust, even though if I was using Battle Phase. So I was down a card the entire game because Thrust wasn't used. But I drew Denko into Mag in the late game position and ended up winning. And then game 3, my Lightning Storm got Regeki'd, but I was able to make Black Rose under Kaiman, or under summoning, and it was over. The next round, I actually misplayed versus Logan in the top 8 match. I had a game shot, game 2. I just didn't drop it, setting trap. I kept it in because I didn't know if I was getting deep buried or something weird. It's unfortunate I drew it, but it was actually good in the snare. I just missed it, and I think that was just lack of comfortability with the deck. This was kind of a last minute decision to play this deck. I am very happy with the decision to play this deck, and I think overall it's a good deck as I won EU championships with this list, and slightly different. He has Mulchamis, he has Prosperity, but he still is playing this Breaker-esque approach, which I think is very, very reasonable. A different side deck, but I don't think the idea was super far off. I think it was just a large amount of lack of comfort that led to my lack of success in the points playoff as well as the main event. So I lost round 2. I got told to go first. Round 2, game 1, I stepped Kaiman, he killed through it. Unfortunate. And then game 2, I misplayed. And then in the main event, I ended up going 5-3. I did have a 2-round bye, though, so I only went 3-3. And I think it was just unfortunate luck. I think there was a fair bit of variance in the losses I had. I won round 3 versus Brandon. I got puppeted, then drew Shifter for a turn, and I was able to crack the board, and he couldn't play on a Shifter on his turn. Drew Shifter game 2, won that game. And then round 4, I played against Runic Stun. Even though I was playing the main event list and I had less back removal, I still had a lot. I just couldn't see any game 3, so I lost. And I don't think it was just like, silly deck. Like, there was quite a bit of decisions. There was ways of grinding and force things I was forcing through, or trying to force through. But he played a patient game. I was unable to overtake it. Round 5 was the only one I think was really like, oh god, this format. Where I opened Burning Draw plus Cosmic plus Call by, and I went Burning Draw on Nepal. He goes Desiree. I go Cosmic. Oh, sorry, he doesn't even Desiree. I go Burning Draw. He goes Chain Ash. I go Chain Call by. He goes Chain Cross out on the Call by, and I had the Cosmic for the Desiree. So if he didn't have exactly Ash and Cross out, I would have been able to win that game. So that was just like, well, that's unfortunate. My call by game cross outed, and then I brick game 2, and then I won the next 2 games versus 2 Snake guys, and both of them were at least very reassuring in the deck, where they go first, they make their full board. I OTK. The one guy went first twice. The first game I shifted him, so he thought his board was relevant enough going first. It was not. And the next guy actually had, a fair few of the kind of cool texts come up where I went first. I heat waited him past. He passed, and then I tried to kill him, but he hand shot me to death, so I couldn't kill. So I had to thrust set the Threatening Roar to live, and I only had 2 cards in hand after that point. And he then went full Snake Eye combo. He couldn't attack. He couldn't kill me. because I had the roar. But the 2 cards were Burning Jaw and Regeki. So I started my turn with 2 cards. I drew a 3rd card. He has full Snake Eye board. Burning Jaw resolved. I now have 6 cards in hand. He died. So that was a very cool game. And then round 8, I played against Whitewood Runic, where I just that deck's boards are not breakable, especially post side when they had them reframing, and it just I won game 1. I lost. I didn't have a strong hand deal with it. Game 2, I won because he didn't know I was playing. I just scooped, and then game 3, I think I really needed to see Shifter, and I didn't. And I think it's kind of the thing with playing one of these decks is that it's built to be a spiffet deck, and I need to get fortune. It can definitely high roll, but it doesn't have a lot of agency in terms of outplaying. There are obviously decisions to make, but it's not one of these things where you can really create magic out of. If your tech cards aren't trading, your tech cards aren't trading. But overall, like I said, one EU WCQ, so I'm overall happy with the deck. I think that if you like Tenpai, you should definitely try this list, especially there's a lot of Snake Eye locals. Burning Draw is just one hell of a card to resolve, and I think that going forward, my main goal would be to set myself up better in terms of deck choice going forward. A lot of people are saying I should play Snake Eye for this event. I should have been playing Snake all year, but I don't think that was the general problem. The general problem was I just went into Nats format without even having an idea of what deck I wanted to play. Snake Eye, Tenpai, and Yubel were all decks we knew were going to be good for months in advance for Nats format. Especially after the list got dropped late, we pretty much knew that there wasn't going to be a list for Nats. And I needed to get practice at least one of them. I didn't have to play it. I could have switched last minute to something I found better. But going in with limited testing and limited practice and limited confidence because of my lack of testing, definitely showed. I don't think it showed that much in the main event. I think that was unlucky, but in points play after hurt, which is kind of where you need to not misplay. But I am happy with the year. I got points play off again, and no worlds, but we will be trying again next year. We'll probably trying for a Master Duel as well, because I think that system is a little bit less variance inducing if you have the skill for it. Like you just play maximum games. So I will be trying for that, but you can expect to still see the regional YCS deck list, as I will be going for points again. Make sure you like this video, and if you have any comments and suggestions of other videos you want to see, leave them down in the descriptions. All right, until next time, guys.